morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome and thank you so very much for being with us here. I very much appreciate you being here live and in person. It is a beautiful collective energy that we share in this space at this time. And we then have that emanating out to the people who are watching the recording. And I dare say there are going to be an enormous number of people who watch the recording now and also into the future. So welcome to this class on neuroscience and flow and what that has to do with change management and what positive psychology can offer us. But in essence, we're really here to dive into how to experience flow reliably. And is it possible for us to experience flow reliably 24/7 at our own will? And why on earth would we do that? So to get underway, what I thought I might do is a quick PowerPoint presentation, and then we'll dive into a little bit more of a deep explanation of flow state and so forth. Alrighty, so let me screen share for you. Let me start the slideshow. Alrighty. So flow is a very interesting concept, and it's absolutely essential and necessary in this day and age. And it's actually also very difficult to get into in traditional ways. It's very easy if you've got the right tools. We're going to explore a visual healing treatment. That's what I like to think of positive prime as. It's one of the solutions. It's one of the opportunities to get into flow. So we're going to explore it as a visual healing treatment. And when we really dive deep into what is positive prime and how and why does it work, I want you to remind yourself that I've explained that it could also be called a very deep and meaningful mindfulness meditation, an open eye meditation. And what I'm saying throughout this entire class is pretty much scientifically proven and has real evidence as its basis. It's been published, I've presented it, and so forth. So not only is it a visual healing treatment, and not only is it an open eye meditation that is quite extraordinary, it's also a visual hypnosis session. And when I first showed this solution to Marissa Peer, who is, of course, the founder of RTT, Rapid Transformation Therapy, she was completely enamored with it as an incredibly advanced hypnosis process. It's a visual hypnosis process, and it has rather amazing and potent power. But ultimately, it's really and truly about flow. So for those of you who don't know me, I am Kim Serafini, and I am the founder and the creator, the inventor of this particular process of getting into flow and maintaining flow. And I really put it together by understanding what happens when you're not in flow and why, of course, you may want to be in flow. And Positive Prime is offered on a platform via Google Chrome because it's very special software that enables this visual treatment that's very healing. And we wanted to make it available 24/7, but I'm also really driven to ensuring that it's affordable and accessible. When I first started to create Positive Prime, as a visual intervention or a treatment, as a part of a therapeutic process, and because I come from a healing background, which we'll go into, I showed it to people like Howard Martin, who's one of the founders of HeartMath. And I demonstrated to him how images could actually be measured with a heart rate variability device. And he and I are very much on the same page about why on earth do you want beautiful heart rate variability readings? So I'll go back a step and say I've been doing this now for more than 20 years. And my original underpinning was actually because I went to business school and I studied change management, and I ended up a consultant in London and New York working on huge global corporate transition programs, mergers and acquisitions. Alrighty, so we're going to really quickly go into how on earth do you achieve a state of flow? What is positive prime in respect of that flow? And what are some of the outcomes, benefits, and advantages? But before we can discuss flow, we actually have to discuss the opposite of it. And that's where most of the humans today, they actually are in a state of survival. You'll know if you're in a state of survival because it's difficult to lose weight. And actually your core is holding more protection around your stomach area. You'll have high cortisol levels that can actually be measured with blood tests and saliva tests. And the reason why most of us are in a chronic, continuous state of survival is because of the life that we're living and the environments that we're existing in. And what happens in our brain, which is different to what happens in our mind. And so we're actually going to separate our brain health with good mental attitudes, mindset work, and mental health. The mind and the brain are actually two completely different subjects from my perspective, but I'm going to kind of explain how they get confused, and there is actually a synergy and an overlap. But from a brain perspective, you have a very ancient brain. It was developed so long ago, and it took so long to develop, and modern brains have not caught up with modern lives. And so we are in an incredible state that is, and it's interesting because I've just had a look at some of the new statistics and spoken to some of the new specialist doctors. The rates of autism and diagnosis are growing exponentially right now with newborns and young ones. And there are a whole heap of reasons why. A lot of it, they have to think, has to do with the way the world is effectively being an influence on our brains and what our brains then do to our bodies. So most of you know this. When you are experiencing worry, anger, fear, frustration, anxiousness, when you don't have enough money in the bank, you don't have enough friends to turn to, you don't have great health, you've been given a diagnosis of something that's rather serious to deal with, you will go into a state where you either freeze or you fight or you run away and hide. That's flight. If it's intense enough, you will faint. But there's actually one that most people don't know about, and the media doesn't want you to know about, because whatever bleeds, we read. So there's a lot of overemphasis on the fight or flight response, the stress response. It's actually unfair and unreasonable that we don't understand that there is an equal opportunity for a friend's aspect in fight or flight, freeze or faint. What happens is that when we are threatened, and that could be a threat to our dreams, our hopes, our wishes, our desires. That could be someone challenging us. That could be a situation challenging us, a circumstance challenging us. When we're thwarted, when our wings are clipped, there are 1,000 different ways there is a threat that's perceived by us. And our brain will go into overdrive and send messages to our body, and our endocrine system, hormonally, we will start to produce a chemical cocktail in our body that damages us. Full stop. Now, there's lots of other emotions that will also damage us. One of those, of course, is anger. And this has all been very well researched. It's been proven. And what there hasn't been is a lot of emphasis on, okay, so now I know that, what do I do? I don't want to live in survival. I know it's really going to cause all sorts of problems for my cardiovascular health. It's going to cause all sorts of other problems for my pancreas, my liver. I'm going to be out of alignment in my root chakra. I could go on and on and on. The opposite of being in this state is actually being in a flow state. And a flow state is really measurable, and it's about alpha, theta, and gamma. And a long time ago, when life was a whole heap more helpful, we had space and we had time. And we lived in environments where we didn't have density, high density living. There were vast amounts of open natural landscapes for us to literally surround ourselves by, and that helped us to get back into states that we can measure in a much more comfortable, easy, and natural way. So everybody knows that your heart rate can be measured, and their frequencies, right? Everybody knows that you can measure your brain waves. So what we did was we started to dive super deeply into what are the brain waves that you would observe if you were in a beautiful, calming, healthy state where you could actually manifest possibility, you could communicate in a quantum manner, and you could actually accelerate your own healing and maybe even prevent death. And what happens when you're in this flow state is a whole heap of other very advantageous and beneficial things. More creativity. You actually get more done with a whole heap less effort. Your brain produces an incredible amount of work for your body to catch up with, but your brain consumes an enormous amount of your energy. And your brain needs to be very well hydrated. And if you don't have a healthy brain state, it's almost impossible to have healthy thoughts, and thoughts matter. So for those of you who love Dr. Joe Dispenza or love Anthony Robbins, or you actually really love the work of Louise Hay and Deepak Chopra in their early days, and if you're following some of the new kids on the block with respect to how do we produce miracles and how can we live more magnificent lives and how can we be more successful and achieve more, the ultimate reality is that you want to be able to achieve more that's actually in the best interests of yourself and others in a way that's very graceful and elegant and with ease and flow. You don't actually want it to be incredibly difficult, and it doesn't need to be either. And it wasn't when we were living very simple lives, right? Kind of subsistence living, when our reptilian brain was created. So I'll tell you, there's an amazing human you may have heard about, and his name is Mikhail Csikszentmihalyi. And he was one of the original founders of the master's program at the University of Pennsylvania with Martin Seligman. And I have met and worked with these particular men. I've done workshops with them, seminars with them, and I did it back in 2004 when this TED Talk was delivered. So that's more than 20 years I've been engrossed, obsessed, and passionate about why on earth would we want to have as a purpose to live in a state of flow? Our cardiovascular system's blood flow, that's beautiful and flowing in a really gorgeous, very fluid way with a lot of viscosity, that's important for our health. And I'll go back to that because some of you know that I left the corporate world and I went back and I qualified what's kind of a combination of an osteopath and an exercise physiologist. And in the United Kingdom, in London, where I did my training and qualified, we actually had a qualification in sports therapy, and we focused on rehabilitation of injuries. And I actually specialized in cardiac rehabilitation in my studies. And I then was physically a therapist, like literally in real life, treating people. And it's then I actually started to become really fascinated with the health and wellness industry, the spa industry. And spa is Salas per aqua, that's health through water. And I'm a very intense human being, and I dive super deep, and I want to understand why and how things happen. But more importantly, I really want to create a much more beautiful way for all of us to experience feeling better. And so I am the inventor of what is now commonly known as hot stone massage that you see in spas and beauty salons and so forth. So over 25 years ago, I invented a treatment that used heated marble, black marble sculptures, and at exactly 53 degrees, they act like an ultrasound. So they're a heat treatment. And that's because when I was a sports therapist, I used an ultrasound machine, a device to accelerate healing in rehabilitation therapy. And I'll tell you where I'm at now is still using all of the underlying principles of that to bring about healing in humans. That's what Positive Prime is all about. So we're going to dive into that. But why? Because in a flow state, everything is possible. Miracles are actually possible. Miraculous healing is possible. And extraordinary, innovative breakthrough ideas and entrepreneurship is also possible. This is the field of possibilities. And in quantum physics, there's an enormous focus and concentration on possibilities and probabilities and so forth. But actually, I just want you to enjoy life more and experience joy. That's enjoy. And I always think of N as in being, enabling yourself to experience that joy. And yet life and our environments and the lifestyles we live actually prevent us. And in most cases, they stop us, sometimes permanently, from experiencing that pure joy. But it is necessary if we want to have a life where we can experience good health and great relationships. So I could play you Mikhailchik sent me High's TED Talk, but I really would love for you to go and watch it. It's fascinating because it's as relevant today as it was 20 years ago. So in flow state, you have the ability to focus very intensively. You can also, if I give you puzzles, solve those puzzles with some really out-of-the-box thinking, and you can do it really quickly. This state has also been called the happiness advantage by Sean Acor. So we're actually going to dive a little bit more deeply into that. Now, we know that athletes, when they hit that perfect shot in golf, or they return that perfect serve in tennis, or artists who have this incredible explosion onto the canvas and create something of real beauty, they're in a state of flow. And we can't get into a state of flow if we're not actually interested in life. And so a lot of depression states have this aspect of apathy to it. And that means we're actually just not really interested in life or others or pursuing a goal. And so flow is the state we need to be in if we want to move out of any of the mental illness states that are around depression or anxiety and so forth. You can't possibly live in flow if you don't understand what your strengths are. So what I'm thinking of doing right now is getting you to just close your eyes, take some nice big deep breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth, really slowly in through your nose, hold, and then out through your mouth really slowly. I want you to think about some of your strengths. Are you creative? Are you a great listener? Are you intuitive? Are you kind and compassionate? What do people say about you that's amazing? So take a nice big deep breath in and breathe out. And I want you to really think about, what are your strengths? Are you flexible? Are you open-minded? Are you inventive? Are you energetic? Do you naturally nurture others? Are you strong? Are you tenacious? Are you persistent? Breathe really deeply in through your nose, hold very slowly, breathe out for longer than you were breathing in. And just think about, what are your strengths? Do you make people laugh? Are you inquisitive? Do you like to solve problems? Are you awesome at seeing opportunities? One of the ways that we can access flow state is reminding ourselves of our strengths, our gifts, and our talents. With all of my personal clients, I have them go through a process where they, in a beautiful journal on nice paper, they write out what are all of their strengths, gifts, and talents, and I get them to literally write a list of at least 100. Come back for a second and see if you can quickly add into the chat some of your strengths, gifts, and talents, and see if the list inspires others and you can all relate or resonate with some of the strengths, gifts, and talents that other people have actually put in here. So let's go to the chat, shall we? And let's see. Patience. It's an awesome one. Beautiful. Creativity. Awesome. I'm loving. I'm caring. You're a great teacher. That's brilliant. Strength. Awesome. And we know strength actually has, from a positive psychology point of view, vulnerability is one of the beautiful threads that's in it. Persistence. You're funny. You're great at connecting with others, developing rapport quickly. You're funny. I love that. Thank you. Keep going. That's awesome. All right, so let's go back to our PowerPoint presentation, back to the slideshow. All righty, so I have been dedicated. That's one of my strengths. When I'm committed, I follow things through completely and in a very holistic way. And I've been dedicated to finding out whether there's an easy way to enter a state of flow, a consistent way, a reliable way. And one of the interesting things is that a lot of the research says that we actually can't be in a state of flow unless we've got beautiful, empowering and enriching thoughts. And that these thoughts really do matter on the way that they help us to create better quality chemical cocktails inside our bodies, with our hormonal system really enabling us and facilitating healthy states of flow. And so I started a very intense journey understanding the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, unconsciousness or consciousness. And I really had to dive deep into quantum physics and into the human potential movement. And as I've gone deeper and further and farther, what I've actually realized is that a lot of people try to explain the mind and limiting beliefs that hold us back and prevent us from, you know, great loving relationships that are fulfilling and satisfying and rewarding, and, you know, awesome businesses that are successful and profitable. And we either have a scarcity or a prosperity mindset. And people use this word mindset, and it's all about a bundle of thoughts that are either enabling us or allowing us to actually achieve more, do more, be more, have more, love more, make more, etc. And I'm now very well known for this. So I'm just going to remind you all, in case you've all heard it, it's not about your conscious mind, and it's not about the executive functioning of your brain even, which is where the conscious mind is actually really working. And I'm going to explain how we've actually studied some of this in the fields of neuroscience and positive psychology. And it's not even about your subconscious mind, which of course most people have heard is where we're operating from. Basically, we're unaware of these limiting beliefs that keep us stuck. I wasn't buying that. That's the kind of person that I am. I'm super curious, very inquisitive. I'm kind of skeptical and cynical by nature. And so I want to debate each of these points and look at them from different perspectives and angles. And what I realized was, when I was looking at these images, because people explain it in the context of an iceberg, The iceberg is the little bit that you see on top of the water, and really the majority of what's going on is underneath the water, and that's the biggest part of the iceberg. And you can go and Google some things about some icebergs. But anyway, I realized actually that it's probably about the ocean. And I wondered how we could get pink icebergs. Now, pink positive, pink joyful, pink happy. And there's an enormous amount of research about when we're positive and happy, we're actually much more productive, we problem solve more easily, and so forth. And so I started to think about food dye in a pool. And if I swam in that, if I had a bath with magnesium salts in it, I would actually absorb that magnesium, and that would be really healthy for me. So in the spa industry, we talk a lot about bathing rituals. We talk about, of course, contrast therapy, cold plunge pools and spas and saunas and steam and water, hydrotherapy, and I could go on and on. So I'm a Pisces as well, in case you didn't know that. My birthday's in March. And so I'm very drawn to the analogies around water. So I started to concentrate on how do we pour pink food dye into our water. And for those of you who don't know of Masaru Emoto's work about the water crystals, and how he would play music like Amazing Grace, the song, to music, and then he would see these water crystals. And I actually, funnily enough, at the most recent Global Wellness Summit that I went to, which was an invitation-only conference for the top 400 of us as leaders in the health and wellness industry, I actually met some people. It's funny because this card's on my table, and I'm just going to go and show you this. So there are these amazing guys, and the business is actually called Palm Readings. And when you look at their card, it actually says live biodata sonification. And what's amazing is that I'd come across some research that beautiful roses, and in particular different colors of roses, you can measure their vibrational, their frequency, and it actually resonates with your heart, and you can get into heart rhythm coherence. So that's measuring heart rate variability, back to that reference. And you can show people different images of these roses, as well as have people in the presence of gardens where there are lots of roses, and you can literally change the way people's vibrations are occurring, right? Well, these guys have these super fancy recording devices, and they actually record palms, as in palm trees and all sorts of other things in the desert. Anyway, so I'm going to go back to screen sharing, right? So I'm all about understanding the environment's, natural environment's effect on us, and how do we recreate that for those of us who can't get out into the wild, right? So we actually ended up creating what is now known as positive prime. So I'm going to go back a step, right? Because it took me 15 years until relatively recently to actually have people who are smart enough, fancy enough, amazing enough to do the research that proved what I had attempted to create actually had been created and does work. I really am a human of integrity, and if I'm going to claim that it works, I have to be able to prove scientifically through robust research that it actually works. And more than 10 years ago, I actually started to gather groups of people, and I would take their saliva, and we would use a very fancy piece of medical research equipment, and we would see changes in measurements in cortisol when people were watching Positive Prime. Now, having said that, I was like the pretend scientist. I'm not actually a qualified, practiced scientist. I was interested in the process of science. So what happened was I could actually show that when people were exposed to this visual healing treatment, that their levels of the stress hormone, cortisol, changed. I needed to go further though, and I needed real academics to actually do the research on positive prime, and that has now happened. And what I can tell you is that we have proven that positive prime is the only thing on the planet that gets you into a state of flow measurable by EEG, eye tracking, dilation, skin conductance within 3 minutes. There's lots of other ways to get into flow. There are not lots of other ways that get you into flow inside 3 minutes. And when you're in a state of flow, all sorts of miracles start to happen in terms of your own physical healing, let alone your ability to manifest in the quantum field. Right, so I'm super passionate about being in a positively primed state. We know through the work that Sean Acor's done with the Happiness Advantage, and Sean Acor was teaching at Harvard University. He actually did his master's in divinity, interestingly enough, studying Buddhism and Christianity. But he ended up teaching classes in positive psychology and wrote a book called The Happiness Advantage. And he actually went and did incredibly complex pieces of change management work in many large Fortune 100 companies around the world. And he proved through very rigorous approaches that when you are in a positively primed state, and the other way to say that is when you have the happiness advantage. So he branded it the happiness advantage. I've branded it the positive primed state. You are more productive. You are more creative. This has been measured and measured again and again in different environments and different organizations with different employees doing different kinds of jobs in different industries and so forth. You are more engaged. You learn more. You retain more. You actually have better social relationships. There's an enormous amount of research that's being done on people's longevity and mobility and morbidity when, there's a whole heap of new great research on social relationships and its impact on us. So I want to take a closer look at positive prime as the visual healing treatment that gets you into a state of flow inside 3 minutes, and why you owe it to yourself and you are worthy and deserving of creating the time, making it a habit, and forcing yourself, if necessary, to watch a positive prime for at least 3 minutes a day. You can do it for free in our Facebook group, and we'll go there. You can do it for free on YouTube, or you can do it and you can actually have a really much more intensive outcome that's produced in a much more interesting way if you actually do make sure that it's personalized. But we'll go there because that's a completely different aspect of what I'm saying. So we're going to go through a positive prime session. So I want you to think of it when you're experiencing it as an intensely, amazingly meaningful, mindful, open eye meditation. It's a very powerful visual hypnosis, and it positively primes you and puts you in a state of flow inside 3 minutes. And there are 7 key elements I want you to look out for. You will see a Duchenne smile many times. There's a certain number of Duchenne smiles in each 3-minute segment. Dr. Barbara Fredrickson at the Broaden and Build Theory Center at the University of North Carolina put human beings into functional MRI machines, and then she bombarded them with visual stimuli, and she saw what happened inside brains. And when you see Duchenne smiles, the areas of your brain that are responsible for you being able to get into a state of flow are actually literally activated and they come alive. It doesn't happen unless you're experiencing an emotion that is happiness, joy, calm, peace, contentment, positive emotions. We can measure positive emotions from 0 to +12. That's pretty easy these days with lots of different scientific devices. But know this, Duchenne smiles is your easiest access to it, and it happens through your mirror neurons. The retina in your eyes processes you looking at that genuine and sincere smile. The smile needs to be genuine and sincere. Your retina in your eyes processes that image, sends messages. Mirror neurons are activated, engaged. They send messages to your body. Your endocrine system starts to produce more neurotransmitters. and serotonin and oxytocin. And that is what gets you into the state that is necessary for you to be more productive, more efficient, more effective, happier, enjoy more, savor more, notice more. And the broaden and build theory is also about how it changes your vision, and your peripheral vision literally changes, and this has been measured. So we have a certain ratio of Duchenne smiles in each one of these visual healing treatments. We also know that if we show you images of green tree canopy, green trees, leaves, etc., you will change the production of cytokines in your body, which is absolutely essential for your immune functioning, right? We also know if we show you colors and round shapes, your actual entire body and the way, the lens through which you see the world changes. You actually become less aggressive as a human. We know this. You become more pliable. You become more vulnerable. You become more creative. You become more open. Absolutely essential. We also know that if you see images of hands up in the air, your eyes process that and you start to produce more testosterone, which is necessary for confidence building. So if you actually see these poses, your body thinks that you are posing like that and starts to produce that extraordinary chemical cocktail without you even getting into the pose. So I'm going to go back to the Duchenne smile. When your eyes see Duchenne smiles, other people smiling in genuine and sincere ways, your brain thinks you are smiling. You don't have to be smiling. Your brain thinks you are smiling just because you're seeing a smile. And the mirror neurons want to mirror that, replicate that, duplicate that. But interestingly enough, in pre-conscious processing, your brain already thinks you are already smiling and starts the cascade of processes that gets you into this hormonal state that produces this chemical cocktail, right? And your body thinks that you're smiling. We know that happier people have bolstered immune systems. We know that happier people perform more accurately in all sorts of tasks, right? Here's the crazy thing. You don't have to be doing the pose. You just have to see the pose. This is breakthrough stuff, but I've been talking about this with this level of passion for more than 15 years. But I think that people need to hear things lots of times. They need lots of other evidence that they've gathered out there in the world. And there's an enormous number of people now talking about the emotion of gratitude. They weren't 15 years ago when I started talking about this. And when Dr. Joe Dispenza and I were still doing workshops together, I should actually say this, like, I'm an introvert. I don't want to be famous. I live down under and I love being Australian and I love my serene life. I don't want to be an influencer. So I haven't gone out there and made sure that I've spoken on lots of different stages and traveled all over the world. But Dr. Joe Dispenza, the chiropractor Dr. Joe that I knew more than 15 years ago, wanted to be famous and rich, right? He didn't come from the kind of background that I did, which was very privileged. I didn't have this insatiable appetite to try and make as much money as I possibly could in this lifetime and sacrifice everything else in the process. But anyway, what's fascinating is that the work he is doing now and the work that I've been doing and the kinds of levels of scientific research both of us are determined to do is remarkable, absolutely remarkable. All right, so what I need for you to know is in every single one of these visual healing treatments, there are enough images that activate what we call pro-social behavior. And we know that pro-social behavior is an ingredient that is fundamental to social connection. And we know that isolation and loneliness has a very detrimental effect on people's health. And so there is a certain number of images, and what will happen if you positively prime yourself every day is you'll be more naturally and automatically inclined. It'll be like you're on autopilot. You will engage in more social activities with more ease and grace and less social anxiety because you've seen these images of pro-social behavior. Now, the other thing that is really key to positive prime working in an extraordinarily exquisite way is how I have built into the formula an incredible amount of gratitude aspects. Now, the gratitude aspects are fundamental from my perspective for the way that we change your biochemistry. So many years ago, most of you know, I wrote a book that was a gift book that was available in the retail areas of spas and salons. It was about gratitude, and it's called I Am Grateful for Life. And I had been in India, and I had actually been training Ayurvedic doctors in lithos therapy, in the heated and chilled, you know, marble sculptures, remedial massage and facials treatments. And I learned so much from Ayurveda and traditional Chinese medicine on my journey through many years, and through training thousands of therapists and lecturers at the Australasian College of Natural Therapies who trained other, you know, remedial massage therapists and naturopaths and so forth. Anyway, I digress. But the funny thing is that I learned that when you experience a profound and deep sense of gratitude, now that might be just that at the moment you can take a nice big deep breath in through your nose. And sometimes if we've got the flu and we're all blocked up, all of a sudden we realize that the majority of the time we can breathe really easily through our nose. We might have like a sinus reaction because of allergies. And we go, gosh, I wish I could breathe clearly through my nose. And so most of us don't every single day breathe super deeply through our nose. And we're not grateful for the ability to do that and how imperative it is for our life force. So there's so much that you can be grateful for, and it's infinite, which is why, not just because the Chinese love 8 from a numerology point of view, my brand, GR8, FUL, is actually an infinity symbol for the infinite, ever expanding numbers of ways that you can be feeling grateful, stimulated by the people, circumstances, situations, and memories in your life. Gratitude is like the super antioxidant. It's like the super supplement. Experiencing gratitude. Now, 15 years ago, and then let's just say the previous 5 or 10 years prior to that, we didn't have the scientific devices in research to be able to prove that this ancient inclination to be thankful actually was really good for our physical bodies from a medical point of view, right? So we are so far down the rabbit hole, or so much further along the journey. Now it's easier to accept the practice of a gratitude journal. But what I'm going to tell you is that if you see photographs of the people you are grateful for and the things that you are grateful for and the aspects of your life that you are grateful for, you will trigger the gratitude response in a much more efficient and effective and elegant way. And it's why I am so passionate about people personalizing their positive primes with images, uploading their own personal images of who and what they're grateful for, their pets, their children. Maybe you take a photo of a sculpture, a gift that someone's given you, a piece of jewelry that someone's given you that means a lot to you, that is significant to you. It literally triggers, and your brain actually starts to engage in this emotion called gratitude. And it's really important. Now, the other thing is that in every single one of our visual healing treatments, or our visual hypnosis sessions, or our open eye meditations, otherwise known as a positive prime session. So the product positive prime session is really a whole heap of things built into one opportunity that you have. And one of the key components is the positive statements and the questions that we ask you. Now, there are lots of transformational leaders and best-selling authors who are gurus out there who've really dived into affirmations and afformations, and there's an enormous amount of science that it's actually built on that comes out of organizational psychology. And you can dive deep, and when you go through our certification program, you can understand cognitive dissonance and cognitive resonance and why you want to be in alignment. What's alignment? Flow. So, excuse me, in a positive prime session, we have different statements. We have I ams, you ares, global statements, thank you statements, and they're all necessary. You can't have a transformation program that doesn't have you are if you have I am. And one of the reasons why is because when we were little and someone in authority and in an intense emotional situation said to us, you are amazing, or you are so cute, or you are pretty, or you are naughty, or you are, and finish the thousands of different endings. And you adopted and accepted and integrated into your identity everything that came after the you are. Now, if you really respected and admired the person, or you were really in fear of the person and there was a heightened emotion in that situation, you adopted it more easily. And it actually laid down and it was like it was cemented in. In order for us to go through dramatic transformations, and in order for them to be rapid, all of your affirmations need to be you are's as well. So let's just start with I am loving. And I am loving. But if I see a statement and it says you are loving, I believe that more. And if I'm in a state of positively primed, my brain waves are in alpha and theta, and I'm going to accept that, adopt that, and integrate that into my identity. And true transformation cannot happen if it's not at the identity level. So I am particularly keen for everybody to know that if you're going to write out affirmations, you must have these incredible self-fulfilling prophecies that start with you are as well. Not instead of, but as a complementary, as a supplementary, as an addition. Now, the other thing is, not only I am loving and not only you are loving, there needs to be global statements for which we will gather evidence. Our brains cannot help but make sense. That's what our brains do. They gather evidence from all of our senses to stack the evidence to prove to us that we actually can be stable. And this is about certainty in the belief that we have. So love is all there is. Love is all we need. Those global statements, what actually happens is that we go in search of evidence to prove that to ourselves. Now, why back to the survival mode that we actually talked about right at the very beginning. So I'm going to escape out here for 1 second, and I'm going to go back to the survival, which is the opposite of you feeling calm and relaxed and cheerful. Look at those beautiful Duchenne smiles. Allow yourself actually, just for a moment before we go back and talk about survival, allow yourself to actually feel this image. Did you notice a subtle shift? Something small. Did you? I wonder. Alrighty. So let me just go back up here, because human beings have an insatiable appetite to be right, and it's linked to your survival instinct, which is really what's going on as your amygdala takes over the part of your brain that has you in freeze, flight, fight, faint, or looking for friends. So when there was a threat, let's just say we're cavemen, we're out on the plains, there was something coming towards us. What we did first, and I'm going to explain to you why our research proved this, what we do first is we look for reinforcing friends. Do we have support? We're looking for, is there help? Do we actually feel more safe because we've got people who will help us to face the danger? The first thing we do is we look for friends. The next thing we do is we look to see if we can run away and hide, so we don't even have to face it. If we can't, we then look to see if that thing that's advancing towards us, let's call it a saber-toothed tiger, is going to actually try to attack us, and then we're going to have to fight it. Now, if all of this happened and we didn't even have time in pre-conscious processing to actually analyze all of this, we would have frozen. But if it had been incredibly overwhelming for our nervous system, we would have fainted. Now, actually, that is a survival mechanism looking like we're dead. So the thing that was going to attack us doesn't kill us because it already thinks we're dead. right? Now, from a biological point of view, when we're fainted, it actually means that all of the biological processes that happened in that state of intense fear can actually be normalized, and we can get back to equilibrium, and there can be homeostasis reintroduced to our body. So when we're lying flat and we've fainted, our blood pressure gets a chance to normalize, because what happened when the threat was coming to you was you increased your heart rate, you sent all of this energy to your muscles ready to run away or fight. But the fact is that first you looked for friends. And in this day and age, we have isolated ourselves and distracted ourselves, and we have separated ourselves mostly because of our addiction, which is what it really is, to our mobile devices, right? So we as humans have an insatiable appetite to be right about whatever it is that we believe. And that's because if the thing that was advancing towards us, the saber-toothed tiger in this instance, we had to be right about our assessment of it and whether it was going to harm us or hurt us or kill us, right? So we had to be right. We had to be accurate about that. Otherwise, we were killed. The strongest urge we have is to procreate. It's to actually continue life. It's to grow and expand. The tribe, right? So we will do anything and everything if we must continue on in life. Unless, of course, we can't. It's all over. And then our bodies actually allow us to die. Our organs and our systems, they're closed down. All right, so I want to tell you that because you have this insatiable appetite to be right, if you see lots of positive statements, and I'll just go back here, that support your changes and your transformation, that make you move out of the scarcity mindset and into the prosperity mindset, or move you out of my husband's not very nice to me to my husband's the most amazing human being on planet Earth, and all I can see is what I can be grateful for and appreciate and respect about him. You will do whatever you need to do to substantiate to yourself that you are right about whatever the belief is, no matter what, and you will go in search of evidence, and your reticular activating system, your RAS, will actually notice that which supports your beliefs. So if you need radically different beliefs to have a radically different life, because you're not loving the life, or you're loving the feelings that you're experiencing in this life, in this experience of this life right now, you have to have different beliefs. But your current level of thinking can't think new beliefs. And that's why they need to be introduced to you by amazing transformational coaches and leaders and therapists and healers. They are our authors of positive prime sessions that you see on our platform. They have wisdom. They can advise, they can guide, they can suggest based upon their incredible expertise, their thought leadership. So trusting in the statements. And so what would happen is I wanted Jack Canfield, who wrote The Success Principles, I wanted a summary of the meaning of the essences of his main messages to be provided to me in a positive prime session. Whilst I was in a positively prime state, I was going to absorb, attract, understand more, recall it more, retain it more, integrate it into my identity. But I wanted Jack Canfield's session, The Success Principles, because I'm not nearly as experienced or expert or as successful as Jack in the areas that Jack is. So I want Jack to be my coach, my guide, my mentor. I want him here on my shoulder. I want to watch his positive prime session, plus many others, relationship experts, all sorts of other experts. All right, so let's just go back here and continue. Am I screen sharing for all of you? Okay, excellent. So you're going to see Duchenne smiles. You're going to see greenery. You're going to see round shapes. You're going to see the power pose. All of this is changing your biochemistry. All of this is bringing about healing. And you're going to see pro-social behaviors. You're going to see more pro-social behaviors. And then you're going to see statements like, my life is harmonious. And then on autopilot, you are literally going to go and search through your life's experiences for evidence that supports that statement. My life is harmonious. And when you anchor into that and your identity aligns with that and there's resonance, miracles happen. Manifestation is easy. Right. So I talked to you about the broaden and build theory, which is Dr. Barbara Fredrickson. I could spend the next couple of hours talking to you about the Pygmalion effect, the reticular activating system, or the RAS. But suffice to say, your RAS is, let's just say you have a goal. It's to buy a Tesla, a white one, if it's a car that you want. And then all of a sudden, as you're searching for that car, you see lots of other white Teslas on the road. And as soon as you buy one, it seems like everyone's driving a white Tesla. That's your reticular activating system, sorting all of the information so that you feel more familiar and comfortable and organized, because that's what the body does, that's what the brain does, so that you can actually feel psychologically safe, which is the opposite of you being in survival mode, right? And that is what is essential to build from or advance from for the flow state. All right, so I could go into an enormous amount of extra detail on epigenetics and neuroplasticity, but this is what I wanted to really say to you about the Positive Prime platform. So if you hear nothing else today, hear this. Every single time you watch a Positive Prime session via the platform inside Google Chrome on your computer, right? The numbers of slides, let's call them flashcards, they shuffle and you see them in a different order. And the different ordering actually means that you will make meaning, because that's what our brains do, of the 8 images before and the 8 images after a central image. You will collapse the meaning. You will kind of create this theme. But the next time you watch it, there's a different 16 images in a different order. And this is what causes new neural networks to fire and wire together that gives you much more creativity and different ways of seeing the world and allowing yourself to come up with incredible ideas and solutions. I could not have created Positive Prime, like the formula. I could not have invented this as one of the world's most powerful visual healing treatments inside 3 minutes if neuroplasticity wasn't a part of my daily experience for the last 15 years. Right? I've been drawn to people like Dr. Avinash Singh, and Dr. Avinash, of course, is who did our research. So we're going to go into that in 1 second. All right, so should I advance along? I really want more time to talk to you about all sorts of different elements that blend together in the formula for Positive Prime. But I really want you to know that when Sean Acor was putting together his happiness course with Oprah Winfrey, he already had more than a decade's worth of experience and expertise and thought leadership in the field of positive psychology. He chose Positive Prime to put inside his happiness course with Oprah Winfrey because it's the intervention he had the most respect and admiration for, because he needed something that worked really quickly. Right. This is Sean Acor. For those of you who don't know who he is, I suggest you go read his book, The Happiness Advantage. This is his beautiful wife, Michelle Gillen. They are both extremely intelligent, extraordinarily driven and ambitious. They're amazing human beings, but they did the initial research on the efficacy of Positive Prime because the Oprah Winfrey Network wouldn't allow for a Positive Prime session to be inside his course unless it had been proven to be safe and effective, right? So what he did was he created his own research. He had some of his friends from Singularity University, Yale, medical school, etc., and they came together and they did this research. And what they showed was that you still were positively primed 6 to 8 hours later. It was statistically significant, and it happened in a single 3-minute Positive Prime, in a single one. And what they actually also noticed was when they introduced new content in an educational perspective for like corporate training, learning and development programs, you actually remembered and retained more information, and it could be tested, right? So nothing would exist if Sean hadn't included Positive Prime inside that course. I owe almost everything to him and will forever be really super grateful. But what's interesting was that their institute, by the way, who did this research, the Institute for Applied Positive Research, is not inside an academic institution that is considered to be peer reviewable with an ethics approval bored. So I had to find the right academic researchers. So we went to the University of Technology, Sydney, which is like MIT in North America, so the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. And we actually did a formal piece of research on the effects of positive prime. We made sure the participants were stressed. And we then saw what happened when they were positively primed, negatively primed, and primed in a neutral way. We published this research and we were invited by the Society for Neuroscience, the most prestigious in the world, to go and present because it's groundbreaking. It's absolutely extraordinary from a scientific research point of view that we actually did this real research on real humans, not on rats running around in a lab, on real humans. We made them super stressed. We showed them positive prime sessions. We actually did eye tracking, skin conductance, EEG, etc., and we published it. And guess what it showed? It showed when you watch a positive prime session, you drop into alpha and theta, and it's synchronized. Now, I'm not going to go very much further without diving in here. For those of you who don't know why on earth you want alpha brainwaves, right? Go Google it. Alpha brainwaves are essential to induce feelings of calm, to increase creativity, and enhance your ability to absorb new information. Every human on planet Earth living in modern industrialized nations needs their brains to be in alpha. But looking at social media and being engaged in work puts you in either beta or high beta. That is not alpha. You must do something to put your brain in alpha if you don't want to end up with a degenerative brain disease earlier or sooner, right? I wish I could spread this message so far and wide, and I'd love for you to help me do that. Send this recording to anyone you know. You want your brain to be in alpha brainwave state for much more time per day. But guess what? What if you could also experience more theta? And what if it could be synchronized? What if you could actually do it simultaneously? My gosh. Well, until this, do you know what? People would say to me, it was impossible that something that you visually see could do this to your brain. I knew it was possible. I spent decades trying to prove it. And guess what? It's now proven and published. It's absolutely extraordinary, right? So flow is about theta, alpha, and gamma spikes, bursts, as we call them. Right. I now watch a combination of many different positive prime sessions, all mixed and mingled, and I personalize them with lots of my own images that I would otherwise have on a vision board, a physical vision board. But I want to be in a positively primed state when I'm seeing my vision board. I could go into a whole heap of reasons why your vision boards don't work, but often it's actually because of the state you are in when you're looking at a vision board. So I want to be in a positively primed state when I'm looking at the images that would be on my vision board. I want to be in my gratitude journal experience. Anyway, this is on YouTube. We create these. We can do this for you. It's for personal use. You can then have, if you've got a premium subscription like I do, you can actually watch this and you can play all for 37 hours on your smart TV, right? But we have so much new content on the platform. I don't think you'd ever want to not be a subscriber on the platform, right? So I'm just going to say this is the platform, right? And I went and took all of my favorites and all of my personal images, and I actually had them combined. So I'm just going to literally, this video does not reshuffle the flashcards or the slides. This YouTube video version of Positive Prime for me personally is uploaded to my own YouTube channel, and no one can get to it if they don't have the link. Or it's private. It's not published. I don't use it for commercial purposes. It can't be used for commercial purposes. If you want a positive prime session that you want to use for commercial purposes because you're a teacher, you're a therapist, you're a healer, you're a coach, then you can have a session and we can make it published for the general public on our platform, or we can make it private for your clients or your students or your participants to consume. I love this. I absolutely love this. A YouTube video version of a personal positive prime you can have if you're a subscriber, and you can choose 5 of your favorite sessions and give us 250 of your personal photos, and for $99 we will create you a video. You can download it, you don't have to have it on YouTube, and you can use it just on your computer. Right, so for those of you who are not yet subscribers, I'm just going to put this into the chat. This is a very special offer, and this comes with a 5-for-1. So you can actually have 4 other people on your account, right? And this is a per annum annual subscription. And we are now in the process of creating new positive prime sessions, which we will launch every single week. We've just done a brand new one with James Clear's Atomic Habits. You'll see that we're taking the most successful books in the fields of management or the fields of therapy, and we are literally turning them into a wisdom series. So the summaries of the best, most important essences of the messages in those books are being converted into positive prime sessions. I'm so excited. And we have many new therapists, healers, best-selling authors who are coming onto the platform. Amazing new book is just about to be released. You've heard it here, but you can go and search. If you're watching this much later than May 2024, then you'll see the giraffe piece of work that we did. I'm so excited about that. If you're not yet a part of our Positive Change Makers Facebook group, it's a private Facebook group. It's free every single day. We have lots of inspiration and education and something uplifting. And we also create what's called positive prime flows. And these positive prime flows are just 3 minutes, and they're free, and they actually give you an experience of a positive prime. So you can literally just have this pop up in your feed every single day, and you can watch a positive prime for free just here on YouTube. If you don't comment within 90 minutes, like an hour, hour and a half, to a post in our group, then it won't show up in your algorithm. You won't appear in your feed as you're scrolling. So you've got to be the kind of person who literally does comment on the posts as soon as you see them, in order to have them show up in the algorithm. So I'd really love for you to do all of that. All right, so Jackie Maffenbauer has created an absolutely magnificent session, and I would encourage you all to go and watch that flow. It's just 3 minutes in here, in the Facebook group. So let me put the Facebook group in there as well. All righty, so we have an incredible leaders program, and we can teach you all of this. So you can go and teach all of this, and you can have your own session, and you can actually have that session published. It starts at about $500 and goes to about $10,000 in terms of the various options. If you would like your own session created now and you'd like it published, we can do that. Just get in touch with us. There's a process that you go through. So a normal positive prime session with our scientifically proven formula, incredible, incredible, incredible. I'm going to go through some of the questions that you have very soon, but let me just quickly finish this slideshow for you, shall I? All righty. So I'm very proud and incredibly grateful that this research was done. You can have a subscription to Positive Prime with all the new content that's coming. You can actually come and attend a positivity, I call them play shops instead of workshops, with me here at the Nautilus Retreat in person, or you can do one online, and they're regular. You just need to reach out and find out when the schedule is for the next positivity play shop. We go through exactly how do you curate, how do you gather your personal images so that you can really improve the quality and the power of your positive prime experiences. And of course, you can have private coaching with me. For most of you who don't know, some people think I'm psychic. I don't claim that I'm psychic. Some people think that I have really special energy healing powers that I do. I have really helped people to have miracles occur in their lives, and I'm really, 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 really in my pure potential when I'm doing that kind of work. So I love it. And so in the special offer for the first couple of brand new people who are to our platform, you can have a private one-on-one coaching session with me. So yes, hundreds of titles, a workshop. I live in a house that adheres to sacred geometry here in the Noosa hinterland. It's actually the Nautilus shell. It won an architectural award. Amazing. If you don't know very much about sacred geometry or the golden ratio or Nautiluses, go and have a look. I think it's actually one of the reasons why the treatments here in our treatment center are so powerful. I usually do my coaching via the telephone, and they're usually 30 minutes, and I can really connect to divine cosmic intelligence and do some pretty amazing work. I have clients all over the world, and I work at all sorts of different time zones. Alrighty, so you can actually have a subscription, you can participate in a live workshop or an online workshop, and you can have a telephone coaching session with me, all in the new offer. So we are also doing a lot more research, by the way. Dr. Avinash Singh and I have actually applied for a new grant worth $500,000 from the Australian government. We applied last year and we didn't get it. We have applied again this year, but we've also decided to collaborate with some other universities. And if you would like to help donate to that, I personally have to contribute the other 50%. So the Australian government gives me 50%. That's $500,000. I have to contribute $500,000. It will be worth it. I'm going to tell you something really interesting, and you've heard it here. This is what I'm going to predict. It's simply a hypothesis, I suppose, or an idea, but I reckon I'm going to get there. So if you don't know yet, we actually have a whole program that's about 100 days to serenity. So from stress and survival mode to serenity. It's an amazing ebook, absolutely beautiful ebook, and I'll put the link in. It is the best of my spa industry work. I've been creating this with Mayumi. And please, please, please engage. So thank you. But here's what I want you to know. This is one of the most powerful images I show my clients. No matter what you want to be true, it will become true, because your brain, in a reptilian way, has been created to gather the evidence to prove to you whatever it is that you want to be true. Be careful with what you want. Focus on what you want. If you focus on what you don't want, you will gather evidence to reinforce that, and then you'll be in resonance of what you don't want. It actually is all true. It's you and your connection to source that decides what's true for you. Okay? Everyone got that? I actually referred to my time in India when I literally downloaded what is the I Am Grateful for Life book. That is me as a young woman in the Rishikesh city for the Diwali festival. This is me and a blessing from the Mother Ganga. So some people call it the Ganges River. And this was one of the most pivotal moments of my life. I'm going to encourage you to upload photographs, scan them if necessary. So this is long before there was any digital option, and put them into your positive prime sessions. If you've had peak experiences in life, you want your brain to activate the experience of that over and over and over again. It's really powerful. It's part of what's called reminiscence therapy. And I really would like another opportunity to dive deep into that with you, but it's super important. These are actually my hands, originally on my black sculpted marble heated lithos rock instruments. This is my mum many years ago, when I used to actually physically demonstrate the treatment at, big spa industry, beauty industry expos and so forth. But not a lot of people have seen these kinds of photos that are my personal photos of where I've come from over the last 20, 25 years. I was one of the original distributors into the spa industry of What the Bleep Do We Know. It's still one of the most important quantum physics videos I recommend to everybody to watch if you haven't. And I'll tell you something really interesting. That's actually an x-ray of my chest. I have a pacemaker in my chest. I have a very rare autonomic nervous system disorder. And I actually am in the process of basically healing myself. And everything that I test and I try and I experiment with is because I'm trying to make sure that my heart works really well on its own and doesn't need to rely on the pacemaker. I had 6 experiences where my heart completely flatlined and I actually physically was dead. Most people faint, but their hearts are still going. Mine looked like a faint, but my heart was not going. They actually ended up putting a little chip in my chest to actually prove that my heart did stop before they put my pacemaker in. That's a reminder to me of how incredibly lucky I am to continue the journey that is this life and be able to be here and offer this to you. But it means that I have zero inclination to have my time nor my energy, my love, my intellect wasted. I'm really focused and intentional and concentrating on what it is that I'm doing and spreading positive prime and creating a new treatment that is really about frequency and wave therapy is what I'm super focused to. Alrighty, so let me stop sharing right now. If you want me to continue playing positive prime, I can do that and you can see whilst we're talking. And in YouTube, I actually go into the settings and I often make the playback only a quarter. So 0.25, not 2 times. I play with the actual time here. So I also play with the quality. I like high quality. I do have this full screen on my TV in my living room, and it plays all the time so that I change the quantum physics capacity of my actual living space. Miracles do occur, and I'm convinced that it has everything to do with the fact that I watch a lot more positive prime than everybody else. I actually have personalized my positive prime sessions a lot more than everybody else. I really do walk my talk. I am a believer in this, not just because I invented it, but I knew that it and nothing else comes close to it physically changing people inside 3 minutes. Yes, you can do a powerful meditation, but I would suggest that it's going to take longer than 3 minutes and going to be much less reliable at getting people into synchronized alpha and theta waves with bursts of gamma. So on that note, let me answer some questions. What I'm going to tell you though, also, if you see lots of broccoli, trust me, you're going to start eating more broccoli. Alrighty, let's unmute. Thank you for your time. I'd love to hear what you have as comments. Shall I go? Any questions? Come on out and ask me. Let me change the view to gallery. Any questions? Yes. Let's just say you have a subscription right now that you're paying monthly for. You could actually cancel that and start again at $1.99 today and get your free coaching. I can literally only do that today. I know Mayumi and I said for the first 10 people, but what I might do is do it for everybody for today. Alrighty. What I'm going to do is go over a few questions I know I'm asked often. Oh, by the way, are all of you reading the comments? Have they been helpful? Yes? Okay. Do I need to go back over those? Okay, so the fast speed, slow speed. The absolute truth is, and I think Wallace D. Wattles actually said this, a long time before me. The hardest work in the world is thinking the thoughts that you want to think, right? Our senses actually take in 11 million bits of information per minute. Let me just ask all of you right now to tell me what your big toe on your left foot is feeling. Before I asked you to do that, were you all thinking about the fabric that's actually touching the big toe on your left foot? No. All of your senses are engaged in processing 11 million bits of information per second, but based upon the instructions that we give to our brains, we're actually literally only focused on about 40 bits per minute. We used to actually think it was a different number, but we've done a lot more research in the last 5 to 10 years, so we know it's about 40 bits of information per second. You want to make sure that you have programmed your brain, that means given it instructions, so that you focus on the 40 that are going to help you to experience the life you want, right? And achieve what it is that you want. And one of the ways to do that is to choose the images that you upload, your personal images, and so that you fire your RAS in the way that you want it to be fired, right? A lot of people wonder why we choose the 1,000 images for each of the sessions. And that's because you need to rely on us to make sure the formula is there that literally does cause your brain waves to go into the flow state, right? And if you were to create your own PowerPoint presentation and just flick through the slides, I dare say you wouldn't have anywhere near enough and the right proportions or percentages of ratios, Duchenne smiles, pro-social behavior, certain colors that activate certain aspects, certain shapes. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just, most people won't think of things that are outside their comfort zone because we all operate inside our comfort zones, right? So some of what you want to experience that you've never experienced before, you actually don't even have epistemic access to. But if you watch a positive prime with all of the different cultures, different religions, the diversity that we show, we're actually giving you access to more than you would ordinarily with your biases, your unconscious biases, be drawn to. And so we could spend another hour talking about how positive prime literally opens you wide so that you see more possibility and more opportunity because of the way that we have integrated a real diversity aspect to the formula. Alrighty. Thank you, Kayla. That's super sweet. We're here for you. Love it. You love the brainwaves information. I'll tell you something even more amazing is that this new treatment that I've been creating is really about frequencies, sound healing, and integrating visual healing. And I originally, when I chose the images for the I Am Grateful for Life book, I spent all day, every day training therapists and working in the spa industry. And I was really focused on the images and the way that those images affected our biology and actually accelerated healing. And then the I Am Grateful book became so much more, and it became the foundation for the types of images that we started with in creating these sessions. And I knew that the images and the way that light frequencies work means that there's a healing aspect from a frequency point of view. And if you combine images and you think about light frequencies and you think about brain waves, which are frequencies, and heart rates, which are frequencies, and you think about sound frequencies, and then you know more about the Schumann resonance, or you know about the sound healing frequencies, the ancient primitive drumming circles, either in Africa or South America, or, you know, I grew up in Papua New Guinea, and I literally experienced as a child tribes in ceremony and celebration and in grief processions and drumming circles. They actually call them kundus and so forth. So there's something really fundamental to me and the way that I have really read all of the research, thought about it all, and then applied it all. So I've come up with Positive Prime. But what I'm working on right now, I think I'm actually going to call in my own treatment center a special type, a brand, because I want to combine visual healing. The treatment is the Positive Prime session with sound healing, but on a really specific treatment bed that is a water table, because the frequencies when they're experienced by the body through these special vibration devices, if it's through water, it'll be amplified. And I've never been more excited about anything I've ever created in my entire life. And it couldn't happen if I hadn't already written I Am Grateful for Life, if I hadn't already created lithos therapy, if I hadn't started as a change management consultant, if I hadn't spent the last 10 years actually perfecting Positive Prime, if I hadn't gone down this path. So for those of you who want to come to Australia or can come to Australia, showing up at Nautilus is probably a good idea for one of these treatments. I think that miracles and magic are about to be experienced by all sorts of incredible clients. I wish I could make it available via the internet, but it won't be possible because it needs a super special type of treatment bed or treatment table. But anyway, Dawn, if Australia is your dream destination, make sure you get in contact with Mayumi, support@positiveprime.com. I actually did a class a couple of months ago on your bucket list, how to manifest what you want in your bucket list. But actually, it's a really beautiful end note. So, you know, one of the other reasons why flow state became an obsession for me, I went through a stage where I was so stressed as an entrepreneur in the spa industry. I'd actually overstretched. I'd invested in a teeth whitening product and a skincare product and all sorts of, I could go on and on about the story. But anyway, I was super stressed. And I knew that that's a really low vibration and that you can't possibly manifest unless you're at a super high vibration. So like a crazy chick, I just spent hundreds of hours, sometimes more than 100 hours a week, literally creating the thing that would get me into a higher vibration. Because I knew I couldn't survive the entrepreneurial journey and I couldn't create any miracles. There was going to be no serendipity, no synchronicity, no coincidences. There was going to be no law of attraction in my life working for me unless I was at a super high vibration. And being at a super high vibration requires you to be in a positively primed state. And so we created this because I want you to be in a positively primed state. And I want you to be able to live your bucket list, or as I like to call it, live your live list, right? Think about what are you living for and live it. And what I know is that ideas for making more money, other resources actually show up when you're at a really high vibration. Alrighty, so reach out to Mayumi, support@positiveprime.com if you would like the recording from that bucket list class that I did. Lorena, reach out to Mayumi. She will help you for sure. Taylor, I can't wait to meet you in person, which will happen no doubt over the phone with coaching. Alrighty. Yeah. Look, the sound water table is like, whoa, it's a whole different level. Okay. Kathleen, what the bleep do we know? Such an amazing, amazing documentary. Nothing else as wonderful has been done since then. I actually spoke to Betsy Chase, one of the originators, last week, and she's doing some really interesting projects. Alrighty. Well, you could unmute yourself if there's anything you want to say, anything you want me to hear, any questions you want to ask. I love you very much. And before we go, and in the comments session, if you want to start with 101 days from stressed and in survival mode to serenity, please do click the link, hey? And we'll see you soon. Love, 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 love you. Alrighty. Thank you. Ciao.